So we're going to have a quick look through the box of this old, ancient, 60-year-old 63 Corvette kit. So typical boxing from AMT. I think it's one of the round 2 re-releases. Comes with a little box in there that you can make yourself. Now I did have the footage of it, but I've lost it. This build was a long time ago. I never planned to release this, and sadly I have lost some of the footage. So the body shell is actually the strongest point of this kit. We started with this first, myself and Joe and Paul. And to be fair, the body is actually really clean. It cleaned up really well. Looks good. Couldn't see any real issues with it whatsoever. It was the rest of the kit that was disappointing. As you can see, the interior's moulded in one. Centre console, seats, all the driving controls all in there. So not much to go with there. Everything else is quite unceremoniously chucked in a bag. It's made in this horrible creamy white plastic. Lots of parts hanging off the sprues as well. So there's our engine, which is a very, very bare bones engine. I'm not going to lie about this, but it's an engine nonetheless. It is there. It's one of our exhaust manifolds, which just fell off. We've then got our steering wheel, dashboard, some terrible, terrible seatbelts. One of our hoods or bonnets, some of the sets of exhaust, a helmet, yes, a helmet, a parachute, and the back of a couple of wheels. We've got another bonnet, the back of some other wheels, a couple of inner manifolds, some auxiliary pulleys, another bonnet, another engine, a bulkhead, loads of parts. I will say one thing, you get lots of spare parts in this. I think there's 2 complete engines, 2 sets of wheels, 3 bonnets, and a partridge in a pear tree. So there's lots in here. The glass didn't actually look that bad, to be fair. It fitted quite well, bar it's too big on the front side windows. The clear red parts are a bit, yeah, they leave a lot to be desired, as we'll see later on in the build. And the chrome isn't too bad actually. The wheels look quite good. Typical though of all these kind of American, well, even any of the modern day model kits still have the sprue tree locating points in parts where you need chrome. So you can have the nicest chrome in the world. You're still going to cut it off and touch up the chrome, so it's pretty pointless really. Manufacturers will hopefully one day learn to put the sprue point at the back so that you can just cut it off and leave a perfectly chromed piece. The wheels, I think we're going to leave chromed. The bumpers are all going to be de-chromed later on. 2 sets of wheels, I think you get Kragers and the standard types. We'll go with the standards. Chassis got the exhaust moulded into it, and the tyres. 2 sets of tyres, you've got your standard normals and a couple of Pro Street for the back as well. Was tempted by the Pro Streets with the different wheels, but opted for the standard wheels in the end. So on the whole, the body shell looks really promising, and it was actually quite enjoyable to build the body shell. The rest of the kit is very sparse. There's not a lot to it at all. With the tyres, though, there is tyre branding on them, which again, a lot of companies could learn from. I think they're Goodyear. Yeah, they are Goodyear tyres. Got a nice tread in them. Not a lot of cleanup needed on those. Decals are appalling. This decal scheme is horrendous, so we won't be using any of those. Instructions, very, very basic instructions. You've got the 2 options there for, I think you've got stock, street, and something else in there. There's 3 different ones, heavily modified, I can't remember now. There's 3 different engine options in there. Different wheels are shown in there, the different hoods, so on and so forth. Lots of different options in there. Instructions, while they are quite clear, they're a bit sparse. But it's just typical of AMT, to be honest. Nothing to really write home about. There's the round 2 models, which I guess they are doing a service by offering these old models again. If they like this though, they can keep them in future, because this is not a great kit, I'm not going to lie. But really basic interior. Literally got the tub, steering wheel, dashboard, your helmet if you choose to put it in, your different bonnet options there. There's the different engine options on the front as well. So plenty of options. Just yeah, like I say, a very disappointing kit in the long run. Hence why this is one video of the whole build, and I very nearly didn't release the build full stop. So we're going to start up with cleaning up of the body, which, like I say, is the strongest part of the kit. The body's really nice on this. A few wisps of plastic here and there. A few seam lines to deal with. The most tricky one being by this B-pillar, or C-pillar if you want to call it on this. Quite tricky to get into, so I used a combination of thinny sponges from Ultimate Modeling products, along with thinny sticks as well to get rid of it. But, you know, a couple of hours of sanding soon had this thing all cleaned up. So just be nice and careful. Don't try and reshape all those beautiful lines on the body. All we're trying to do is get rid of these seam lines that are all over. So seam lines tend to run front to rear. They usually go up the front bumper, down the back bumper, across the rear wing, up the roof, down the front wing. So you can trace them if you're careful. On some kits are less pronounced than others. And some of them barely take any cleanup at all. Like I say, this body on this kit was actually pretty decent. It didn't take a lot of cleanup. We did a little bit of rescribing just to deepen some of the panel lines to make them a bit more pronounced. But overall, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't that bad at all. Like I say, some careful rescribing. We reprofiled and deepened the panel line, so when we pop a wash in it later, it won't look odd. Like I say, work continues. Just go around systematically, all the wheel arches. Like I say, just a few wisps of plastic on there, nothing drastic. Once we've cleaned it all up, we've got a 3000 grit Tamiya sponge, and we're going to go around and key all the body for primer. So why key for primer? Well, by keying it, using a 3000 grit sponge, which isn't too aggressive, we're putting thousands of micro abrasions in the surface, which gives the primer much more surface area to grab a hold of. And the theory is it makes your primer stick better. So that's the reason for doing it. And it also gives the plastic a uniform texture all over, because some of the body has been sanded where there's been seam lines. So by going around with the with the sanding sponge, we get it all to a nice even keel all over and a nice even starting ground. So we're in the booth now. We've got some Tamiya white primer. This is the days before Pro Scale primer. Literally, it was just a thought in mine and Simon's mind back then. So the primer wasn't on the table yet, it wasn't complete. So we're using Tamiya here for probably one of the last times we'll use it on the car body. Tamiya white primer, several coats of that to give us a nice primer coat. Let it dry overnight, and we're back in with the 3000 grit sponge just to flat it back. And what we're looking for is any high spots to get rid of any spits of paint and to get rid of any imperfections that are there. So this is the very first Pro Scale paint I ever mixed. This is GM Atomic Orange. Literally my first test of this colour, and what a colour. Absolutely beautiful. It's off the 06 Corvette, it is, C6 I think it is, and absolutely beautiful, lovely metallic orange colour. So it's not officially a 63 Corvette colour, but whilst I was looking, they are pretty mundane colours for this. They're all solid. Well, most of them are solid, and I just wanted something a little bit different as a bit of a show shine, a bit of a pop, and this hit the mark definitely. So several light coats. Obviously, it is a lacquer-based product, so it does require just nice light thin coats. There's no benefit in hosing it on. All you potentially do is ruin your paint job. So nice thin coats, building it up. 6 to 8 coats is normal for this. You're not trying to cover it all in one go. You're just going to go up and down in alternating passes. So go up and down on one pass, side to side on the other. Don't worry about coverage. It will come as a whole at the end. Pay more attention to getting into all those nooks and crannies like I am there in the bonnet and in the front grille. And the coverage will come with each coat. Let it flash off for a good 5-10 minutes between coats, and just build it up slow. It can take an hour or so to do this. Trust me, the time taken now doing this is well worth it. So this is after a couple of coats. I reckon this is about 4 coats now. As you can see, the colours really starting to come to fruition. And then after about 7-8 coats, we've got a beautiful, deep, metallic orange colour, which just looks absolutely phenomenal. For the first colour I picked for Pro Range, this one was definitely a show winner. Absolutely stunning. That's dried overnight. We've got lots and lots to mask off on the body. So we're going to do all the chrome around the windows, the chrome trim on the spine of the car, as you can see. I've also opted to do the spine as well. That is not a chrome piece on the car. It's a factory painted colour, the same as the car. But I thought I'll be a bit different, and we'll do that. And masked it all off, and then painted it with Mr. Hobby's Super Duraluminum. Several coats of that, and all the nooks and crannies, getting all the angles. And with it unmasked, it looks absolutely beautiful. Great colour, nice chrome trim, really looks the part. Yeah, very nice. Very, very happy with that. Great looking colour, really nice. So on the back of this, there is a very awkward Corvette logo. So it was some Vallejo Model Air, thinned Well, actually, it isn't thinned. It's how it comes out of the bottle. And a very nice 0 Winsor & Newton Series 7 brush. I've loaded up the brush, wiped off the tip, and I'm just gently going around the raised areas and using the brush in a sideways motion just to very lightly put the paint over the raised detail. And if you're nice and careful, it's quite easy to do. If you do make a mistake, you're putting a water-based product over a lacquer-based product. So for moistened cotton bud, either with some water or something else, from definitely not your mouth. Don't put cotton buds in your mouth. As a drastic measure, you can use some Vallejo airbrush cleaner. I don't rate it as an airbrush cleaner at all, but if you use UMP's airbrush cleaner, it'll take the paint clean off, because that's how good our airbrush cleaner is. As you can see, I've zoomed in a little bit so you can see. Like I say, with a steady hand and some gentle painting, you can get a really nice finish on that, and that looks really, really good. Very nice. Quite an important detail on the car. We've also done the door handles as well at the same time. And once everything's set, so we don't get our fingers in places, we've got a Tamiya black enamel panel wash now. And again, we're putting enamel panel line wash over lacquer-based paint, so no adverse reactions. Put it on. My theory is if it holds a wash, give it a wash. Let it dry. Get a moistened cotton bud with some odorless mineral spirit. I use Santador from Winsor & Newton. And just gently rub over. You don't need any force. It's not abrasive. You're just using a chemical to remove the wash. And then once you've got the majority of it off, get a nice clean piece of kitchen paper and wipe off any excess residue of the mineral spirits as well. And that way you remove any excess wash and excess mineral spirits from the body shell. Now, I did think of doing the grills on the bonnet, but I think it would have looked a bit too stark, so I opted to leave them as they are. And there we go, with a wash, that's come alive. If you look around things like the window wipers and things like that, it really adds depth to the part. It really does look good. And as I always say when you're removing the wash, remove it all, put it down for 5 minutes, come back, have a look again, and I'll almost guarantee you'll see somewhere you've missed. Now, engine-wise, I've picked what I'm doing, and we're literally going for factory, out the box, just standard engine, standard carb, standard cleaner, and a nice simple build. Now, the engine is very lackluster on this. I'm sure you could do a super job of super detail on it. I was all well and truly up for that at this point, at these early stages of part cleanup, because it was all pretty simple. The parts weren't that bad to clean up considering the age of the kit, but it was now starting to become apparent where this kit was lacking. It's in a lot of the finer details like the engine, the interior, the running gear. It's a bit poor. So sometimes you've got to cut your losses and think, you know, as myself and Joe both agreed from the beginning, this one's going to be a looker from 3 foot away in the modelling display case. Not something to pick up an ooh and ah at close up, because it's just going to look good as a painted body. So that's what I went for, and I thought we'll still do as good a job as we can. So right now we're assembling the chassis with our axle mounts here. As you can see, they slot in, they are shaped, not very well with them hitting areas. 2 different holes in there, so you can have 2 different ride heights. We're going for the lowest one. Obviously, we don't want an off-roader Corvette. And to be fair, they fitted in okay. So with all the parts cleaned up for the engine and running gear, we're going to strip our chrome. So even with brand spanking new Domestos bleach, it barely touched the chrome. It took days to strip. We'll get back to that in a minute. As I say, we're going to use the standard wheels. I looked at both of them and decided on the standard wheels. Gave them a bit of a panel line wash. And yeah, let that dry, wiped off the excess, and away we go. Okay, it's 2K time, and again, one of the first public displays of ProScale 2K. I did use it on the yellow Civic that was a patron exclusive build, the Alpha Models FK8 Civic, but I never actually officially said what it was. But this is the first incarnation of the 2K. No labels on the bottles, as you can see. But yes, this is it. So it's a 2-to-1 mix. So we're mixing about 6 milliliters of clear, so 3 milliliters of activator. Now don't do what I'm doing here and pour the activator from the bottle. The activator's the catalyst that makes the clear dry. So if it gets on your rim, it dries crusty, and nobody likes a crusty rim. Use pipette to get the activator out, and probably best to do it with the clear as well, otherwise you'll end up with a crusty lid and yeah, it can cause you a whole host of problems. Once you've got the catalyst, the activator and the clear mixed, like I say, 2-to-1 mix, 6ml of clear, 3ml of hardener. Give it a good stir up to get it mixed and get the chemical reaction going, and then it's 0.5ml of thinner in this mix, so it's 5%. So if we've got 9ml, 1ml, well, 0.9ml would be 10%, 0.45 would be 5, so I opted for 5, and that's how we went. So yeah, 2-to-1 mix, 5% thinner. Sorry, confusing myself there. We have our Iwata Revolution 0.3. This is the days before my 0.5, which I upgraded to later on. And the instructions for our new 2K is no mist coat, no tack coat. It's straight in with a half wet first coat. It's a lot quicker to use our system, a lot easier. So straight in with a half wet coat, so you almost want a full gloss without getting the full gloss. That then flashes off for 5 minutes, and then you come in with a full wet coat. I then recommend putting it away in a box to keep it covered and keep dust off it, and just let it sit for a minute, and then get it back out, let this 2K self-level. If you can see the imperfections, any orange peel, give it another light coat, put it down for another 60 seconds, and repeat until necessary. Literally, you want a glass-like finish on this. It should have no visible imperfections in it. If you can see orange peel, which is a bumpy surface, it probably needs more clear. So well worth taking your time and adding it as you go. So like I say, first coat, that's how it's done. Get the bonnet to go over as well. That'll then flash off for 5 minutes, and we'll come back for our second full wet coat. So there we go, there's our first fully wet coat down. We've let that flash off for a minute and then have a quick look. And as I can see, it needs a little bit more. Like I say, early days this was for testing the 2K. So just getting to grips with it, and it does like to go down thicker. It's a very, very forgiving 2K, so don't be afraid of putting it down. It will dry nice and thin, and I've had no issues at all putting fairly nice heavy coats down. Like I say, how this dries is how you will see it. So we're going to put another coat down, put it down for another 60 seconds, and then come back and see what it looks like. So just a couple of light areas that need a quick little dust over. That's it, pretty much done. Like I say, if you're in doubt, pop it back in your box for another minute or so. Let the 2K self-level. It is self-leveling. The self-leveling properties of 2K are phenomenal. It is unbelievably surprising how much it will level. And like I say, don't be afraid of putting that little bit more down. I see so many people that use 2K and they don't get as optimal a finish as they could get because they're just not quite put enough down. Don't be afraid of putting it down. The way this stuff is designed to work is it goes incredibly tacky, and that's what stops the runs of the paint. And as you can see, my finish is pretty flawless there. There's no orange peel on it. There's no excess paint. And if I do see a little bit, I just give it a very quick light spray over. It will kind of tarnish the finish for a second or two. Then it self-levels out, and you'll end up with a beautiful gloss clear coat. So this has been drying now for 5 days. It's 5 days to fully cure. It is touch dry in about 4 hours. It dries mega fast R2K. And I'm just on a quick test fit of the wheels, trying to decide which ones to go for. And I was right, I was going to go for the kit one. So these have been left in the kit chrome. I put on a Tamiya black panel line wash of enamel, let it dry, wiped off the excess with a cotton bud soaked with a bit of Santador from Winsor Newton. And there we go, we're all good. With the interior, again, we're not going to any extremes. We're not going to flock. We're not going to detail paint everything. We're just going to get it together. All the interior tub is what you see here. That is it. And then there's a steering wheel and a dashboard. That is it. It's a complete no frills interior on this. Chassis, again, painted up in Mr. Surface of black. We give all the black parts that require them a few coats of LP5 semi-gloss black as well. Engine, we're priming in Tamiya white again. And we're going to paint this in GM engine orange. Again, Pro Scale. I think it was the second colour I mixed for Pro Scale, and came out absolutely beautiful. Now, like I say, the chrome parts were in the chrome for a good 5 days. They were in there forever. It didn't take it all off, so any excess chrome was sanded off. And like I say, all the other parts that are going black are painted in LP5. As you can see, not on ceremony there in painting, just get it done. For the chrome parts, because we're going to repaint them, we're going to paint them in GX2, Mr. Hobby, gloss black, and then give them a paint up with the same super metallic duraluminum we used on our windows and trim. So a couple of nice coats of this to get a nice glossy finish. I find it only takes about 3 lightish coats and then 1 heavy one at the end. Build it up nice and slow. And once it's dried overnight, you can hit it with your colour of choice, which as we're spraying here is Mr. Hobby Super Metallic Duraluminum, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Our engine's painted up now in the GM engine orange, and we are gluing on the few ancillary parts of the kit. So we get an inlet manifold, the rockers, the heads, we get the auxiliary drive belts, the fan, the carb, the cleaner, the exhaust, and that's it. There's nothing else with the kit at all. It's pretty boring. Obviously, you can go for the different engines should you wish. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go pretty stock. But like I say, I didn't even bother wiring this up because I know it's not going to look great when it's done. Yes, does it seem a bit of a cop-out? It kind of is, if I'm honest, you're right. But like I say, you've got to pick and choose your fights, and sometimes some fights aren't worth the hassle. And this one, for me, wasn't. Like I say, this is the interior. A fully formed cockpit with a dashboard and a steering wheel. Really simple. So is it worth sitting there trying to make it look good when it doesn't look that great to begin with? Sometimes the answer is no. I go the whole hog on a lot of my interiors. This one just wasn't worth it, and I think it was a case of get it done, get it off the bench, and let's move on to the next project. This kit wasn't cheap. I was very disappointed with the quality of it. And to be fair, it fitted together okay. It's just unbelievably basic. If I really tried, I could build this kit in a couple of days, no problem at all. Axles slot through those holes we pre-glued in earlier on. The body just slots over with no locating points at all. No snap pieces, no pins to hold it in. It just rests on. That's it. The glass, it fits in really well. It's a bit thick in places, but the main problem is on those side windows, it's too long. So it needs cutting, or as it overhangs too much. So I'm going to use the razor saw, but I need to mark it for now. And I did offer getting a Sharpie, and I thought, yeah, I'm not going to get the Sharpie in there, am I? So instead, I got my Swan Morton scalpel, and very carefully used the back of it, just to scribe along the pillar of the window, so I could see where the window actually went to. Then with the razor saw, I went behind that about 1 millimeter, very gently razor sawed it with my JLC razor saw with a very fine blade. It's a very, very precise tool, this one. And we're just going to gently sort it away until it goes. And obviously repeat that for the other side and give it a quick clean up with a 1000 grit UMP sander. So nice simple job, just take your time, you don't want to be breaking things. And then just a careful snip at the top. And there we go, it's off. Like I say, clean it up with some sanders, and then when we pop it back in, it fits in perfect. There's no overhang on the window. While the glass could be better, I know a few of the lads replaced the glass with acetate sheet. Mine was adequate for me. Polishing, so we've got some 3000, 6000, 8000 Trizic 3M pads, and we're going to go round and flat all the body. Absolutely beautiful 2K on this, pretty flawless to be honest. So it didn't take a lot of flatting back. So just a formality on this one really. Just be very careful on this kit. There's a lot of sharp edges, a lot of raised detail. It's very easy to take paint off. And then using far too much compound, and I mean far too much compound, we're going to polish the roof. And like I say, again, same with the compound and the polish. Be wary of raised pieces, edges where the paint is inherently thinner. And just take your time polishing it. Don't go mad. You don't need a ton of pressure. Let the polish do its work and the compound. And once you're done, buffer off with a nice clean cloth. And I always find give it a good jet wash with some water in the airbrush to get all the remnants of polish and compound out the panel lines. So the thicker one's the compound. This one is the polish. So we go from highly abrasive 3000, well I say highly, but pretty abrasive 3000 3M to slightly less 6000 to finer 8000, and then a harsher compound to a finer polish. And then once we give it a good buff up at the end, we should have a nice 2K clear coat. And what you're doing there is removing any surface flaws, like bits of dust or anything that shouldn't be there. And you're also thinning the 2K, making it look a lot more realistic. Now the beauty of the Pro Scale 2K is it is quite thin. Even if you put a good covering on, as you can see there, it looks absolutely fantastic. Really, really happy with our 2K. It's going really well. Glass, we're just going to pop in with some generic CA glue with the precision nozzles. We've got some CA kicker there, so we've got loads of room underneath, so we're just going to put some CA in, hit it with the kicker, and that will hold it in. We'll do that to the front and back, and that will be more than adequate for holding the clear part in place. But just look at that shine on that body, absolutely stunning colour, really is beautiful. Rear lights are unbelievably troublesome. I had to remount the holes in the back with a knife. It was the only way I could do it, and they eventually fitted. And then, like I say, pretty unceremoniously, the interior just glues to the top of the chassis, the body, and then the chassis literally just slots in and just rests. There's nowhere for it to connect to, nothing for it to clip to. It just sits in there. So I glued the bulkhead down, and that's it. And as I say, you can see right through all the engine bay. It's a pretty poor engine. This is why I didn't go mad detailing it up. But the bulkhead's in there, all the interior's in there, the lot. We've got our bonnet hood in there as well. And we're just going to put some CA glue on the tops of where the inner fenders meet the chassis. And then hit it with some kicker. And glue it in place. This is probably the best we could do here. Like I say, not all that bothered. Really not. Just want to get this off the bench. The front grille that we, the front bumper that we de-chromed. I'm going to drop our 3 times here. You ready? 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 Oh, don't. Oh, is it going to go in this time? Is it? It is. There we go. So, oh, the bonnet's for that now. Oh my God, it's all popping off here. And there we go. And then the rear bumpers, they just slot in. So a little bit of strategic CA glue in their place. And yeah, it's looking good. Final buff up with some Ultimate Spray Wax. So spray a bit on your cloth. Look at that body. It is stunning. Absolutely stunning. The kit is terrible. It really is. The bodywork is actually really nice on it. And from a distance, just like me and Joe said from the beginning, it's going to look like a nice model. It is. But it is terrible. Don't buy this kit. It's awful. Somebody needs to make a new kit of this car. But I think it's literally the only game in town at the minute. So if you want to build a 63 split window Corvette, this is pretty much what you're stuck with. So you can make the best of a bad situation and build this kit. If you want to go the whole hog on the interior and the engine, by all means do so. For me, this will look good as it is, and it's just another advertisement for Pro Scale paints, because look at that colour. Look at that clear coat. How beautiful is that? Absolutely stunning. Really, really nice clear coat. Really, really nice colour. And combined with the 3M Tri-Zip pads and the Ultimate Polish system is by far the best one, in my opinion. Developed by myself. Absolutely wonderful. That looks absolutely spanking. Look at that bad boy. Lovely. Didn't bother taking any pictures of this one. That's right. I just really wanted it off the bench, but I do have some video of it. So we've got it under the light where it sees the colour that I see, because the colour changes on all different lights. We've got a few bits of dust landing on it, but just beautiful colour. Really, really nice. Like I said, this was primed in Tamiya White Primer, painted in Pro Scale Paints GM Atomic Orange, cleared in Pro Scale 2K Clear, flatted back with the 3M Tri-Zip pads, and polished up with the Ultimate Polish system. Wheels are the kit chrome with a wash on. The wheels are terrible. They're literally falling apart there. The interior is LP5 black. The chrome trim is super metallic duraluminum. And we did a Tamiya panel line wash on all the recessed areas. So, like I said, while it's not a great kit, it turned out all right. It looks good from a distance, and I think that's the best you can hope out of this kit. I'm just ecstatic with the colour and the 2K because it looks absolutely beautiful on this kit. And there we go. If you built this kit, give me a shout out in the comments down below and let me know what you thought of it.